So today I'm going to try and make this into this. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. So today I thought we'll do some art using just stuff that I've got laying around in the garage, just stuff that I've kept for a rainy day. So we got a shirt, too small for anyone in the house. I think it used to be Lumi's. Right, it doesn't fit her anymore, but she really likes the picture. So I thought maybe I could cut this picture out as such and do a little art installation, just using old stuff that I've got in laying down in the garage. So first I thought let's draw some lines and measure it all out. So there we go, drawn all lines, and obviously realised I didn't draw one of the lines quite straight, so I'm having to go back here and redraw the line. So if there's a lesson here, it's measure twice, cut once. And there we go, we've got some lines as guides. So next we need to get some scissors. Here we go, and I'm just gonna cut just below the line, leaving a bit extra just in case I might need it later. Scissors are great for this kind of work. You could do it with a Stanley knife as well, but obviously it's a lot safer with scissors. And there we go, it's all cut, little hand snatching the rubbish away, and it's all cut nicely. So next we need to find a piece of board to put behind it, just to give it some strength. And it so happens I've got a piece of very thin plywood that I found in a skip. So as you can see, it's not very thick, probably a couple of mil thick. So I'm going to take the piece of fabric that I just cut out, I'm going to just put it on it. I'm going to measure. I've got two straight corners, or two straight sides, so I'm just going to move the piece of fabric to one of the corners and use that as a guide, and then draw some reference marks just to get my my lines. And you can see me just doing a couple of marks and marking it all up, just so I roughly know where to cut the plywood. So there we go, we got a piece of plywood clamped down. I'm using a small saw with very fine teeth just to try and stop the plywood from splitting and making the cut a lot nicer. You could use a bigger saw, but I feel like it rips a bit too much, so a saw with fine teeth does the work just nicely. And there we go, a nice piece of plywood to glue some fabric onto. There we go, so we got our piece of plywood, our piece of fabric. So next we need to get some glue and just put glue on either side. Obviously we need to make sure that it's roughly the right size. I'm going to build a frame around it anyway, so all those bad edges won't be visible. But next we need to glue them together. So I've got some spray glue. This happens to be a Q-Connect, but obviously there's all kinds of spray glue. You could use double-sided tape or possibly not even glue it on if you're putting a piece of glass on top of it. But I'm gonna use some spray glue. This is just some glue I happen to have laying around in the garage. So I'm gonna put some glue on both sides, and then I'm gonna leave it for a bit just till it gets slightly tacky, and then I'm gonna lay it on top of each other. Now I'm not really sure how good this glue is because it's quite old, so I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna spray quite a bit. And I realized afterwards that maybe went a bit overboard with the glue, but it's not coming off. So plenty of glue, make sure it doesn't come off, but don't go overboard with it. So there we go, both sides got plenty of glue, and now we're just gonna leave it for a bit to get tacky.
A few moments later.
And there we go. Now we need to put them both together and just line them up. You've got a slight play in it, so and make sure there's no creases and it's quite straight and patted down. And there we go. One fabric put together with the plywood. So next we need to turn it upside down and put some weight on it. So I've got this piece of steel, so I'm going to turn it upside down, put some weight on it just to help everything bond together. I'm just going to move it away into a corner so I've got some more workspace on my table, so as such. And next I've got this old COVID screen. It was actually the wrong size, so it's never been used. It's quite thick plastic, and I think I'm going to make the front out of this, more so because I think it'll look quite nice, but also because there's a member in our family that likes to draw on things. If someone draws on it, such as Lumi, who likes to draw on things such as this wall, and this picture, and on this calendar, her desk, and this radiator. So now that we've established that we've got a little artist in the house, I'm just going to measure, make it show it's the same size as the piece of plywood that I cut earlier, and I'm just gonna do some measurements. If you look closely, you can see there's a hole in the corner where it used to be attached to another part of the screen. So next we need to cut it out, and I'm just going to use the same saw as I used for the plywood because it seemed to work quite well, and it's possibly not the best for this, but it works. Now as you can see, there's still a hole in the corner, so after I cut this piece out, I'm just going to cut the hole out of there, so it's a nice rectangular piece of plastic without any excess holes in it. Like I said, it works all right with this little saw. It's just slightly time consuming, but we're not in a hurry anyway. There's Lumi giving a helping hand once again. And there we go. And next, get rid of the hole. So there, got rid of the hole, and what I'm doing now is taking my Stanley knife and just cutting the burrs, or making sure that the edges aren't too sharp. So just about a 45-degree angle with my Stanley knife. So there we go. Next, we need to do the frame around it, just to tidy it all up. I've got these old pieces of skirting board or architrave board or whatever old boards these might be, and I think these will look quite nice. It's going to be quite a substantial frame around it, and if I'd have the tools to cut it down, I'd probably cut it down ever so slightly, but I don't. So I'm just going to do it with the handsaw, and hopefully it'll work out. So I've got this jig that helps me cut 90-degree angles. So I'm just going to start off with doing the first cut and making sure that the first piece of the board is at 90 degrees. I'm going to clamp it down, and obviously I discovered a bit later on, because I didn't actually pay attention, that what you need to do is screw the jig down onto a table or whatever work surface you have, and there's also a little lip to help underneath the jig, a little lip underneath the jig to help it keep still. But you know, we live and learn. A man who didn't make a mistake never made anything, as they say. So this is just me cutting the frame. And there we go, we've got a nice frame. Now we just need to figure out a way to attach it all together. I tried to use them squares that you see on top, but they're made of plastic, so they weren't really sturdy enough to hold it in place. So I got those metal brackets. I started off by only doing 2 screws, but that wasn't sturdy enough, so I'm just gonna put 4 screws in each, and that seemed to pull it all together quite nicely and make it quite sturdy. And my plan to sink the picture into the frame didn't really work because I haven't actually got a router or any way of making a dent into the wood. So I'm just gonna attach it with the similar pieces of metal, and that seemed to work quite well. And there we go, I just got a piece of rope and I put a piece of rope behind it just to give it something to hang off the wall with. And then I gave Lumi a chance to inspect it, and she was happy with it. And there we go. Art! How nice is that?